you don't mind sharing your screen. Rachel, if you can share your screen and jump into introducing yourself, we'll be listening at your feet.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the introduction, Taylor, and really happy to be here. I'm going to start with an introduction for myself, and then I'll go into sharing my screen in just a moment. I am a networking coach, and I have started this business a couple years ago because I was horrible at networking. Prior to this, I was a chief customer officer at a food tech company and worked my way up all the way to the C-suite and realized when I got to the top, I don't want to do that anymore. But I didn't know what I wanted to do next. And when I left that role, I realized that my network wasn't very wide or very deep because I was a workaholic and all I wanted to do was my job. And so I knew my customers and I knew the people that I worked with, but I only worked in so many companies and I didn't think I wanted to do what I was doing again. So I had to start from scratch to start networking. And I ended up meeting 300 people and one-on-one conversations virtually because this was during pandemic-ish times. And realized from there that there's really a skill set around networking. And most people are told to just go network. What does that truly mean to go network? So I'm really curious as we go into this. I want to learn a little bit more about all of you. So as we're kicking this off, just type in the chat your answers. No overthinking, but be honest. Have you ever dreaded a networking event or walked into a room and immediately looked for the snack table or people instead of people? Sorry. Type yes in the chat or no if you are the type of unicorn that just lives for networking. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of yeses come through. John is a no, he loves it. But for the most part, it looks like we got a lot of yeses. All right, awesome. Thanks for sharing. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how intentional do you feel your current network is, especially in terms of diversity and background, role, and perspective? So again, you're going to drop this in the chat. 1 is I talk to the same 5 people every time I go to the same meetings. And 10 is my network looks like the LinkedIn United Nations. Go ahead and type that in the chat. All right, we got kind of all over the board. We got some 7s, some 4s, some 5s, 6s. Yeah, it can be, some can be really good and some it could take time. And one thing that we don't realize too is that our network is often built today for our past, not for our future selves. And how do we get ourselves to build it for the future? So I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see it okay? Okay, awesome. Just get situated here and get the chat back open for myself. All right. So when we think of traditional networking, it's often in-person events. I hear that over and over again. Oh, I have to network. I have to be in person. But the reality is the networking that you do here, coming here every week, or any other virtual event can be just as effective as well. So we can see different people and go to events that aren't necessarily the same people. When we have traditional networking, it tends to feel inauthentic, transactional at times, and maybe even some discomfort. And I hear from a lot of people, maybe a fear of rejection or judgment when they do network. But one thing that comes up more than ever is surface level conversations. How many times do you get asked, so what do you do? And that's the only thing that's sparking a conversation. It really can be monotonous to have to introduce yourself over and over and over again and really not get much out of it. So I'm really curious as we dive in a little bit deeper here. I want you to just take a moment and think. Don't type anything into the chat. But what is your go-to tip or advice you would share with your past self? Maybe you've gotten better at this today and something that you've learned over time. Just think for a moment. Don't write anything in the chat. You can jot it down for yourself, but I'm just going to give you about 30 seconds to think about what that might be. Okay, when you're ready, go ahead and drop it in the chat. What is something that advice that you would have told your past self, something that you've learned? Thanks for sharing, Reza. All right, you got some great things coming in. Reza said, be yourself. John said, don't be afraid to ask for referrals or possible work. Ryan said, the universe opened doors. Don't try too hard. Absolutely. Kevin, he asked people what they're into when they expect to be asked what to do for work. Absolutely. That's great. Atul says, don't hold back your authentic self for sure. Taylor, everyone else is feeling similar to you, 100%. Nobody is feeling like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing. They're all a little shy. Rolf asks others who their ideal customer would be. Great question. Jocelyn, small talk doesn't have to be small. It can be authentic, 100%. TLW, use my business friends to meet more friends. Love that. You never know who's going to open a door for you. Joel said, do some pre-networking research to find common areas and be yourself. Fantastic. I love those pre-connections make such a difference. Jared, never a bad time to reach out to past connections for sure. John mentioned offering help. Susan, don't worry about being an older person. Absolutely. Age does not matter. And TLW says, don't be afraid of people who have big titles. That's a big one, especially when you're in rooms that it seems too big for you. It doesn't matter what their title is. Every person is just another person. It's amazing when we just ask each other how we can help, what has helped us, how that might be able to help others as well. And we've crowdsourced maybe a dozen or so ideas, which is pretty awesome. And I want to share with you some of the things that I have found most effective and that I coach others on, as well as one of my core frameworks. And that framework is called the 3 I's. And we think about networking, we often think about the give and get. Oh my gosh, I have to give somebody something in order to get something back. I can't just ask something because I don't know what their return is going to be. That was one of the reasons why I said to use that as a question, is to ask, because you never know what you're going to receive back. And it's totally okay to ask somebody something. So the first I at the very bottom is an introduction. Can you introduce somebody to someone else that can either help them, or can you ask for an introduction? So just as a prime example, Jocelyn actually introduced me to Midday Connect, and that's how I got this opportunity to be here with all of you today. Jocelyn attends and she was like, Rachel, I think you'd be great to come and speak. I really want you to participate. Would you be open to doing that? I was, absolutely. I love coming talking about networking anywhere. And here I am with that opportunity to do that. Jocelyn helped open that door for me. Another example, I'm using Jocelyn again because Jocelyn actually was a client of mine, but Jocelyn was in one of my group coaching programs with another person, and that person actually introduced her to someone else, and both of them were on a panel together. I don't think they're on the same panel, but they had the opportunity to both speak at this conference because that introduction happened and they did similar work, and it allowed them both to have this opportunity that would have never have happened if that introduction didn't open that door for them. So think about every time that you are meeting with someone, and it could be here today, it could be in a one-on-one conversation, or even in passing. Who's somebody that's going to make their lives more enriched? And it could be professionally or personally. It could be as simple as, I really need to find a dog walker, and I don't even know where to start. But you know somebody that has a dog that lives in your area, and you might ask them, who's your dog walker? It's a great way to kind of get started. So that's the first I, introduction. The second I is an invitation. Can you invite someone somewhere that is going to help them or that you want to bring them to, or you want to be invited to? So think about it for a moment. Where are the places and spaces that you show up? Go ahead and type that in the chat. It could be gym, it could be another community, but where are the places that you go to all the time? Taylor said church, work. Jessica, coffee shop. Are there any church is a great community? Are there any other communities that any of you belong to, or places that you go to on a regular basis? So we have work conferences, Home Depot, society meetings and conferences, absolutely. You know, even here, are there other people that you can invite to come to Midday Connect? Webinars are a great place to invite others too. You are here to learn something, maybe somebody else wants to learn something as well. Think about places that you really enjoy going to that you want to bring somebody else along to. Maybe it's a neighborhood picnic. Maybe it is going to your favorite yoga. Um, Jessica said third Thursday pitch night. That's another great space. Like you might go because you want to listen to the pitches. You might go because you want to pitch. You might want to bring somebody along to hear those pitches. There's a lot of opportunities to bring or invite someone. And more often than not, people just don't know that those places exist. They just want an invitation to show up. And so extending that offer can really make a difference for someone. And the last I is information. Can we exchange ideas, insights? It really helps to build trust. So if someone's asking for something, can you share an article, a podcast, a resource? And it can be anything in the moment, but even for all three of these I's, they can be things that happen after the fact. So I'm just going to use Jessica's example here of third Thursday pitch night. I see that she wrote it here, but maybe I'm gonna not remember it right now, but then I'm gonna remember, keep it in the back of my mind and say, reach out to Jessica in a couple of weeks and say, hey, Jessica, I know you mentioned in Midday Connect about the third Thursday pitch night. What does that look like? I'm really interested to learn more. Can you tell me about it? She's giving you information, and that might even extend into an invitation. There's a lot of opportunities in which we can ask for something, which are any of these three I's, and or give back. And again, they don't have to happen in the moment, but it allows us to just have a framework of how can I be more strategic with the conversation that I'm having with the person in front of me? How can I best support them? How could they best support me? Because really, when we are connecting, it's about building that rapport. And it allows us to open up a little bit more and be a little bit more vulnerable in those conversations. So again, the three I's are introduction, invitation, and information. You can give all three. You can have one of those in a conversation. And again, maybe nothing comes in the moment, but it comes over time. Another thing to think about when it comes to relationship building, often I hear virtual is shallow. And the reason why I'm talking about virtual networking here today is because we are virtual. And oftentimes people think, oh, I can't network virtually. You can do it both in person and virtually. But communities can be across locations. And I'm sure many of us are coming from different places. I know most of you are based, I believe, in the Salt Lake City area, but maybe people are coming from different places. I am in New York City. The chances of me coming to Salt Lake City is very slim chance anytime in the near future. But the fact that I get to see all of you right now is amazing. And you probably wouldn't necessarily be coming to New York City in the immediate future either. And so having that opportunity to connect is amazing that we have these types of spaces. And also think about the technology that we have that allows us to check in regularly. It could be a text message with someone, it could be a LinkedIn DM, or even if you imagine it, just pick up the phone and have a phone call because those all make a difference. And the three I's can apply whether you're in person or virtually. You can use it when you're connecting other people or introducing other people to each other. And you can also use it when you are in person and having conversations. We talked about what is a problem maybe that you need help solving. You think about those three I's. Can I introduce someone to somebody based upon that problem or their ask? Can I invite them somewhere? Or can I share some information that might help them? It really goes a long way. So my mini challenge for you today is, can you make an introduction? Can you connect two people in your network that could help each other? Can you extend an invitation? And again, that could be just someone joining you for coffee, an event that you're going to that you want to invite them to, or maybe even it's next week's Midday Connect. Can you invite someone else to come to join so that they get to experience what you get to experience when you're here as well? Or maybe someone that you met on the networking that we did prior to the start of me speaking that you want to continue to talk to. And the last thing is sharing a valuable information. Is there an insight that someone could benefit from that you could share? And that often pops up, not necessarily randomly, but in conversation. Don't be afraid to share the wealth of knowledge that you have with other people. And one of the best ways to stay connected too, I saw a couple people put their LinkedIn in the chat, but please do put your LinkedIn's in here. You can always save the chat from any virtual meeting that you're in and connect and say, it was so great to meet you at Midday Connect with Rachel's session. What's something that you learned? And then start a conversation. It's a great way to continue from this moment in time. It doesn't have to be a one and done, and you can start talking continuously from there. So just to wrap up, I am more than happy to connect with all of you. And I'm offering as well, if anyone's interested, to get a little bit more strategic about your own networking. I know we spoke kind of high level today. A free 30-minute coaching session with me. Feel free to scan the QR code. I'm more than happy to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll put my information in the chat as well. But I'm happy to answer any questions that are more specific to you. And I really hope that you picked up a thing or two today from myself and from your peers on how networking can be a little bit more successful and strategic for all of you. Thank you so much.
Rachel, thank you. Great framework, I think, for us to be thinking about. Um, I would like to maybe further extend your mini challenge to the group here.
Yeah.
And you had asked everybody to, or suggested to go into our networking breakout rooms with an ask. I am wondering if everybody could put their ask in the chat right now, just the general ask that you either shared in the breakout room or would like to share with this group. And maybe as people are generating their questions for you, Rachel, you could give feedback on how to refine an ask.
Happy to.
If someone wants to come off mute, they can also provide their ask and get some feedback. but you can also put your questions in the chat along with your asks. Ooh, Brian, I like it. How do you 10x your demos / prospect calls? So your ask is how to 10x your demos and prospect calls. Rachel, feedback on that ask?
Yeah, so Brian, when you are asking that question, did you phrase it any other way? I know you're typing it in the chat, but are you phrasing it any other way when you're speaking that out?
I would, I think I've said it in ways like, how did you grow? How did you go from just a couple of demos a week to more than you could handle?
Gotcha. Um, and what are you trying to uh gain from somebody else? What type of knowledge are you trying to get up from them?
How they did, how they grew so fast?
Okay. And you said here specifically 10x. So
Right.
um where are you starting out with your demos right now? Like how many do you have a week?
I'm about 2 or 3 a week right now.
And so you want to get to 20 or 30 a week?
I would, yes.
Okay. So one thing that you can say, if I may, with
Yeah.
the ask is tell a little story about it too. You don't have to, you can say, right now I'm at 2 to 3 demos a week. I'm really trying to get to 20 or 30. How did you scale to get to that many demos? Or do you have any advice on how I could scale to get that many demos or prospects? And you can share a little bit more too from a story standpoint of this is where you are at and what you're thinking about doing as well, just to give them some more insight.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So I learned two things from you, Rachel, just by doing that. One, the questions you were asking Brian, great questions to ask someone that you're networking with. And then Brian, what I learned was also when you do provide an ask, provide some context and detail with it so that people can orient themselves to provide
Like
meaning.
a frame of reference, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one key thing too with an ask is you want people to use, and even in your own introduction, you want people to say these 3 words after it. Tell me more. I want to know more. And or ask a question. If you told them so much information that they have nowhere to go, then you've told too much. But if somebody has a question after it, or they're saying, tell me more, but they have enough frame of reference to be able to ask an educated question, then you're in the right ballpark with your ask.
Very cool. Thanks.
My pleasure.
All right, a couple of other asks coming in and or questions. Ryan Murray said he's looking for any life hacks using AI tools in the networking space that you'd recommend. Any thoughts on that, Rachel?
Life hacks using AI tools. Can you be more specific on what you mean by a life hack? Because that could be very wide.
Let me get off mute here. Yeah, I mean, is there anything has AI created any tools in your space that you found helpful that you would recommend?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different tools and different tools coming out. There's one, I don't use it, but I know a lot of people that do. There's one called Dex, DEX, sits on top of LinkedIn that can be really helpful and can also sit on top of other social media. So it connects people and you can write notes on them. So that's one tool. Another tool
That's
is
like a almost a personal CRM tool
correct.
to manage all your contacts. Okay.
Yes. Yep. Another tool is Play, but that's more sales related. I don't know how many people are familiar with Clay, but that's an AI tool that's also, it's more about list generating in a way of contacts that you might want to connect with. But that can be helpful. Clay does a lot of things. I haven't spent that much time in it, but I know a lot of people do that from a sales world perspective. And then there's a new tool that's coming out that just launched. Well, it's in the beta phases, called Good. I'm gonna have to just double check the name because they changed it. It used to be called Loop, and they just changed the name last week. But let me think about what the name is. It's Good something. That's going to be really interesting because their goal is connecting two people that would have common interests, or maybe they wouldn't normally connect, and finding ways to connect them, because that doesn't happen as often. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. But I know that there's a lot more. There's definitely more things coming out. People are very interested in AI for networking, but it's still very on the early stages from a networking perspective right now.
It's a good start. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Got a couple of asks, one from John and one from Reza, about it looks like maybe attracting potential partners or customers for the work that they're doing. So those are good asks. If you want, if the group wants to review those and you have any suggestions, that's awesome. Kevin Richards says, ask for the referral before and after a solid demo. If you're happier than you were expecting with what we're offering, would you be able to make an introduction to a friend in your same space?
Kind of an answer to Brian's question of how do you increase your demo calls? Just ask for the referral. Ask, who else they work with in their space, and maybe that opens doors.
Great. Question from Jessica. How do you place general boundaries for your networking? Example, when someone has a large ask or wants an introduction, but you haven't had enough time to vet them yet.
Yeah, really great question, Jessica. That happens often because actually one of my biggest pet peeves is when people say, oh, my network's open to you. Well, my network is not open to everybody. It is my personal time investment that I have put into this, and I need to be very strategic on who I make the introduction to, because it is your social capital that you're putting out there. And so I normally just like to say, you can say a couple different things. You can say, we'll just call the person Bob. You can just say, hey, Bob, let me look into that and see if Ryan is open to that introduction. I always like to do what I call a double opt-in for an introduction. So I wouldn't automatically introduce Bob to Ryan. Regardless, I would always go to Ryan first and say, hey, Ryan, I just met Bob. He's really interested in meeting you. This is why. Would you be open to that introduction? And if Ryan says yes, then I would make the introduction. If he says no, we're not right now, then I wouldn't make the introduction until Ryan was okay with it, or maybe he's not. So it's up to you, depending upon how close you are with the person that you're making the introduction to, if you want to have that conversation ahead of time, or tell the person that you're going to introduce them, being Bob, saying, let me, touch base with Ryan and see. Or you can just say, Bob, also, I would love to get to know you a little bit more. Ryan's a really, not that close of a friend of mine, or he is really close of me, and I want to make sure that he'd be okay with that conversation first. I never put anybody out without me ensuring that they are okay with having that conversation, because you never know what's going on with that other person. They could be going on vacation, they could have a sick kid, they could be preparing for a gigantic board meeting, and they just don't have time. And then it doesn't look good on you either way. Thanks for asking that.
Yeah, great question. So we're at the end of our time right now. One last question for the group, Rachel. Do you have any tools? You mentioned Dex. Do you have any tools or software or frameworks that are critical for people upping their game on their network? Like, what do you use daily in your networking efforts?
So I don't use a lot of software. I like tools, but I only like people to use tools that they're going to use regularly. So I'm much bigger on frameworks or ways that I can leverage that. So the 3 I's is a strategy that I teach all the time to people because it's really helpful to remember in a conversation. Another quick strategy or tool that I like to talk about is more from a mindset perspective, and it's this concept called NATO, NATO, not the Global Alliance, but NATO stands for not attached to outcome. And I actually learned this from a dating coach, and I'll give you a couple examples here. But when you're dating, you often go on a first date with somebody, and the goal for most people is, can I get a second date? But many people say, oh, am I going to marry this person? Well, you don't know if you're going to marry the person after that first date. The same thing with networking. We don't know what's going to happen after that first conversation. We need to keep building that relationship. And it can be really frustrating at times when people ghost us. We reach out, we don't hear from them again, or when we show up and we don't feel like we're getting anything back. But we can't be attached to what that outcome is. We have to keep trying. The one thing that's great about networking versus dating is that dating, you just have to find one. Networking, you find many, many, many people. So just keep doing it because you're going to keep meeting them. And it's okay if that one person goes to you. It's okay if that conversation doesn't follow up or that person doesn't follow up in that conversation. But just allow the process to keep coming and remembering that other people are feeling the same way as you are. And eventually, the more work we put into it and we keep doing this over and over again, it will pan out.
Awesome. Fantastic advice. Rachel, thank you so much.
My
I
pleasure.
encourage everybody to connect with you and jump into one of these coaching sessions with you. Thank you for presenting and sharing your great insight. Appreciate everybody coming. We'll see you all next week, same time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rachel. Bye all.